Good morning. I am not the great Mr. Kadish, but this is the SNP Saturday Show, the Salty Nerd Podcast. Today, I shall be known as Mexican Iron Kadish, and I am joined by not Mr. Kadish, but Mr. Vader. How are you,
Hi.
sir?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic. We actually have some panelists showing up, so that's great. We got a lot of great topics to cover. I'm really excited to co-host with you. It was only a little bit more than I think it was 5-6 weeks ago. I was with you in Vegas.
Yeah.
Arm in arm, high-fiving, shaking hands, doing a live show. It was great, man. I really can't thank you enough for you guys having me over in your studio.
We were sitting on the same side of the table. You were in Jude's seat in the studio, and we were having a good old time. It was fun.
Yeah, I was sort of being able to be across the table from Mr. Kadish was one of the great moments of my life, and I was kind of fanboying out there. But speaking of another podcaster that I'm a fanboy of, Brian from the podcast.
Oh, hey, man. How you guys doing today?
Very well, sir. How are you?
Good, man. It's always fun. It's always great seeing your face and your Iron Man cave behind you. It's always a good time.
Thank you, my brother.
If you're a fan of me, you don't understand this. I'm a fan of you, Mike.
What?
Yeah.
Yep. I know you're not a YouTuber, but I'm a fan of Mike. I'm a fan of how connective Mike makes everything. Mike connects people. He's like literally the YouTube plug. That's what Mike is.
Wait, what kind of plug would that be?
That's weird. That's really weird, man.
You know what a plug is, right? You guys know what the
Speaking of people that might
plug
know
means connection. You know, you get it. Come on.
Speaking of someone that might know a thing or two about plugs,
Backdoor Gerry.
Wow. Backdoor Gerry.
Holy shit! It's the big giant forehead, Gerry.
My longtime friend. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, my brother. It's good to hang out with Brian over here from Popcast, guys. That's
Hey,
cool.
look at that.
I think I've only hung out with you once before.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, make it
Well,
twice. That's right.
We were in the same lobby.
Oh, really? Was it on
We
Steam?
didn't talk to each other.
On what? On a panel, or was it like on?
Yeah,
Steam?
it was a panel.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's amazing to have everybody here. I want to welcome some of the people in the chat real quick. Hello to Wendigo, Cocho Dragon, Penny, Caladon, 910, really old movies, Penny, our good friend Penny, who's always with us each and every Saturday. Wendy Hunter, awesome to see you here. We've got Anime Confusa, who was talking some smack in the chat about Mexican Ironman jumping out of windows. That would be what we call here in the States hashtag fake news. But great to see you here, Anima. We got Major.
She, of course, it's the love of my life. That's my girlfriend.
No, wait a minute. I thought you had a girlfriend in the States already.
No, it's Anima.
Oh,
And the only one that will tolerate me.
if loving
This is
Gerry-
awkward.
Mike,
She
Mike,
keeps
we're
hitting
not
on me, bro.
we're not supposed
Oh.
to talk about his girlfriend in the States. Well, Anima's
if
in the
loving
chat.
Gary is wrong, I don't want to be.
Oh, that's right. I was with Anima and you on that Star Trek thing. I still think
There
that
you go.
I won that trivia night. I'm pretty
Now,
sure.
she
I did.
kicked everybody's ass. What are you
She
talking
did,
about?
She did. That's true. She did.
She is the trivia queen in Salty Nerd World. That is true.
Shout out to RJ Godzilla, Regis Red, Brandon the anime guy, and so many more.
All good friends of our channel, too. I love
Very
these
much
guys.
so. I think you got a lot of
Penny.
you got a lot of
Penny's like
fans
the
here today.
best.
Penny's everywhere.
Yeah. What are you
She's everywhere.
saying, Vader?
I don't know. She's everywhere. I can't find a stream that Penny's not in.
Have
the
you
chat.
met Penny in real life, Vader?
No, I have not.
Isn't she?
She spawned my arch nemesis, so I really don't.
Yeah,
want
she
to meet her.
spawned the Dark Knight that travels in your dreams.
Yeah, I can't get away from him.
So
I'm
that's
sure
true though. She's actually
his mom.
York's
She's-
mom.
Yes.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. It
I thought that
explains
was a
lot.
joke for a long time.
It explains a lot. So yeah.
And before we get started with the topics for today, I want to shout out some of our great supporters to the channel. A huge shout out to our top super chatter, who is William Forbes. William, a huge shout out to you for being our top contributor thus far year to date. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get on the leaderboard, all you have to do is contribute big, contribute regularly, and we will, of course, make sure that we shout you out. In this show, unlike a lot of other shows, is that when you super chat, we're actually going to read them in a reasonable period of time. That's an inside joke for some of the YouTube channels that I produce. This one not being one of them. But we've got some regular contributors and some gifters that I want to shout out. So in terms of gifters, I want to shout out Jillian N, WG, Sam Schwager, Major Chai Chai, and Eric Winberg. And of course, our regular contributor, some guy out there known as Mexican Ironman. Some of you may not know who he is because he's not a YouTuber. And of course, a huge shout out as well to Scotty Dub, who along with William Forbes are our two largest contributors, supporters to date. And we've got a couple super chats right to kick us off. One of them is from some guy named Mexican Iron Dude for $10. He says, thank you to the great Mr. Kadish and the SMP crew for their support in the quote, Mexican Ironman is not a YouTuber initiative. Yes, this is an important initiative and we all need to get behind it. And
You do a really good job at not being a YouTuber, Mike. I got to tell you. So
thank you.
you're doing a great job. You're a great not YouTuber. It's amazing.
Can I
good of a
say, I
YouTuber
see
you are.
Culture Casino in the chat. Culture, our time on that stream a couple weeks ago, literally out of the 8 clips that I uploaded of us talking, 4 of them, 50% of them got reported. So
Nice.
I'm blaming you. But out of all the entire stream I did with Mr. Reagan, all of them are gone. So he has a 100% ratio on not being able to be uploaded to YouTube.
Wow.
What is
Wow.
up with that?
William Forbes for $10 says, I actually got a Saturday off. First one in a while.
Nice.
Yay. Gonna watch the stream. Looking forward to it, y'all. I'm excited to hear about this Snyder insulting. Saw that Rogan podcast and was a little shocked. Yeah, we're going to get into that in a little bit. We've got a story or two as we warm up. And of course, I can't really get to the Snyder part of the show without Tom Connors being here because, well, you know, yeah, we'll get to that.
He probably has a lot to say. I'm assuming.
We'll get to
Tom
that.
Connors always has a lot to say. There's nothing new about that.
Our friend and good brother. And the third super chat is from Lover of Green. Salty Nerd on FNT win. I know Mike can't make it, but the rest of Salty Nerd might have a chance. Hail to the fellowship. Love of Green for $5. Thank you so much.
That would be something.
Looks like
wouldn't it?
Tom snuck in the back door.
There's a Tom.
I was invited to FNT once and I rescheduled and never got invited back. That was a mistake.
Probably shouldn't have done that.
Do you guys even hear me?
Yeah,
we
we
hear
hear everything.
Yeah, we hear you.
I can't see anything. My whole screen's black. Everything is. I'll be back.
All right, we can hear you perfectly. He can't hear us perfectly. All right, let's.
Yeah.
Well, when one person leaves, another one joins us. And that
Zack
is
Snyder's
great
botnet.
Odin, our great brother
Oh.
Odin of
Oh,
ONB
hi.
Reviews. How are you, brother?
Odin's
I'm
son.
doing
up, Odin?
great. How are y'all doing? Sorry, I'm late.
It's all good. All we've done so far are introductions
Perfect.
and a little smack talking and recognizing our great super chat
Oh.
supporters.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right. Oh, no.
Yeah,
very
man.
nice,
The
very
crowd
nice.
is growing.
Odin's
So,
really calm today.
He's pretty calm.
It's
now.
because his child might be napping in the room
Yes.
next to us.
For now.
For now, that could all change.
Dude, there was
So
a
that's why
giant
the
Fortnite
whole
update
NPR
yesterday,
thing.
and my kid was waiting for it to update for like 6 hours, and then at like 10 o'clock at night, she's like, "I'm playing," and I'm like, "Now you gotta go to bed." She's like, "I'm playing." I'm like, "Oh, okay." She ended up playing for like 4 hours straight, dude. Kids are wild.
Well, guys, we've got a laundry list of topics. The great Mr. Kadish left Mr. Vader and I with a long laundry list of things to talk about, and we're going to talk about it, as Mr. Kadish would say. And as a warm up,
We'll talk about some of the things he sent us, but just to be to be that guy, we don't have to talk about everything he sent us. Just whatever. Just wing it, Mike. Whatever you want to do, man. It's fine.
you guys are going to get me fired.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. Like, this is going to be like, hey, we had Mexican Ironman co-host the show with Vader, and it'll be like Brian said, getting invited, trying to reschedule, then you never invited back.
No, you'll be
Worst thing
invited.
I ever did. Gary's like, "Hey, you want me to FNT?" Yeah, awesome. And I'm driving.
Well, our first topic is going to be, why does Hollywood hate women? There's been a bit of a furor recently over someone that's been in the news, and that would be our good friend and our girl. Guess who? Sydney Sweeney.
Sweeney.
I'll just quote a couple of lines of this here. And from Classically Abby here on Twitter says, people are saying that Sydney Sweeney is a return to femininity because she unabashedly shows off her curves and allows men to view her as the woman she is. I can't get behind that. Hold on, I need to do it in a voice. Yes, men are visual creatures. I've said it before and I'll say it again, but there's a difference between embracing your femininity and being a sex object. Dressing to accentuate your best features without showing a ton of skin, doing your hair and makeup, and looking pretty is a great avenue to initially catch a man's attention before he gets to know you. It's working with reality, but being scantily clad is not embracing your femininity. That's just asking men to ogle you as nothing more than a hot body. It reduces you to your, quote, assets, and that's it. Women don't need to choose between looking like men and dressing like they're on OnlyFans. The wise and wonderful middle ground is dressing beautifully and femininely to draw the male attention for the right purpose. I don't know what the right purpose is. For him to get to know you, the person beyond the body that houses your soul. So, gentlemen, why does Hollywood hate women, and why in an era of feminism is not everyone getting behind Sydney Sweeney, if you know what I mean? Ba-boom.
I hate that.
Years. I couldn't help myself. Sorry.
I hate the whole approach. It wasn't too long ago, that Hollywood was all about nothing but being the next big sex symbol, right? I mean, that's what was on the cover of the magazines. It was what was the movies were marketed around. It was, I mean, and I'm not saying that is like in a bad thing, but sex symbols were what sold tickets. You go clear back to people like Marilyn Monroe or
You're overthinking this, Matt. This bitch is just ugly. That's all it is.
But yeah, I mean, I know I'm overthinking it, but I don't feel like women are allowed to be sex symbols anymore without being criticized.
What happened to
that's the way feminism used to work.
It's Maxim, FHM. Like, think about all the Rolling Stone covers, all the American Pie movies, all the raunchy comedies. Like, these things are like just non-existent now, and it's replaced with everyone complaining about virtue signaling constantly.
Remember when we were told that just because she dresses that way, that doesn't necessarily mean she's a whore? We used to have to say that. We used to be able to think that because women were supposed to be able to do whatever they want.
Yeah, don't slut shame.
You cannot slut. Yeah, so all of a sudden she can.
It's just now we've gone from hot, sexy women on this cover of Sports Illustrated, for example, to dudes and big, giant 400-pound fat chicks, and because that's what's supposed to be sexy now, and it's gross, and I hate it.
The whole body positivity movement is
Sydney Sweeney's hot. She has nice assets, and she should be able to flaunt them if she wants to. So whatever.
That's what liberation is.
And she has a cute personality too, which at first I didn't think so. Then I watched that the SNL episode, and I was like, wow, she's actually pretty fun.
Yeah, I haven't seen that episode yet, but
it's funny.
I do kind of want to check out some of the clips.
Gary, Odin, what say you guys on this topic?
Gary, go ahead.
Well, I was raised by old school feminists, and they would have supported her doing what she was doing. She's being a liberated woman doing what she wants to do. And current modern feminists want to have them walk around in burqas. And,
it's Sharia law, basically.
You do not look pretty, because if you look pretty, most of women that I've known in my life dress up to be judged by other women. They want to look good for their friends and not just look good for men. But that's like flown out the window. It's everything is all about being ogled by men. And if you look at a woman, even appreciatively, not like lusting, you're treated like crap. And that's why men are even more afraid today to look at women, because of this, what's her name? Dear Abby chick, Amy Eileen Ham is one of them that talks shit. And then, of course, classically Abby. Both just anti-female, anti-femininity feminists, and which makes them not feminists.
It's weird. In an age where a high schooler can start an OnlyFans account, you have you have this like deep perverse society going on one side, but then on the public facing side, there's the body positivity movement. It's this weird sort of counterbalance that is sort of just wrecking pop culture.
Well, it's contradictive in its nature.
The male gaze sells tickets, and Hollywood needs to start realizing that again. Well, right? I mean, that's why we like good-looking women. We don't want to look at ugly people. We don't. I mean, you know, it's the same thing with guys. We don't want to look at ugly guys. We want superheroes. We want
this
dudes
goes back to that comic.
you know what I'm saying? It's just
the comedian said it years ago. Like when you watch porn with a guy and a girl,
yeah, you don't want
a guy to have
dudes.
a big penis. It's like,
that's
well, I
correct.
Correct. I'd like to make an interesting point, which is that for those who are fans of Star Trek and remember where we were at as a nation and as a country, it was the women of Star Trek. When the original female uniforms were designed, they didn't look like this. And one of the things that the women on Star Trek did is that they were very much supportive of this outfit and the direction that they wanted to go in.
Dude, this is what has shaped a lot of my formative teenage years.
God, look at Nurse Chapel. She's so.
Oh my God, that is so problematic. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what's funny is like just can you superimpose that against Tilly from Star Trek Discovery? That's where we've gone, guys.
Yeah. I feel like Odin wants to say something.
Yeah, I've been wanting. I want to let y'all talk a little bit because obviously I'm probably the one on here that has a very different take on it because though it's one of those things where what classically Abby, is that the person's name? I don't really follow a lot of these people on Twitter or social media, but yes. I generally actually agree with what her take is. And I just say this. So obviously I'm a Catholic. I'm a person where my faith is very important to me. And so I think that both sides of this can be wrong. Like I think that the over-sexualization of women is a problem, but I also think that the attempt by woke Hollywood to try to turn women into men is also a problem too, because it's a rejection of true femininity. Right. And so that's why I'm in this kind of like this middle ground with it, because I think that both sides can lead to a lot of problems, because I see the problem that over-sexualization of women can lead to. And it has less to do with how women are treated and more to do with the male brain especially, and how if our brain gets trained in a certain way to view women in a certain way or to view anyone in a certain way, it in many ways causes or can cause this type of objectification, dehumanization, which I think is a problem, just morally speaking. And so that's why I am very much in this middle ground territory, because I look to these images here and I think, okay, if someone is trying to present a story and their main focus is about trying to create good characters and trying to, have well-designed characters, good story arcs, things like that. Okay, if that happens to be a part of the discussion, that's one thing. It's another thing if, okay, we are casting this specific person and we're going to dress them in this specific way because we want to be able to draw the attention of men for this specific reason. Because that is when that's when you step over the line into more sexualization, objectification than anything else. So I know that's probably not a popular opinion, but it is just one that I think does need to be shared.
Is the most barbaric on this panel right now by all these wokesters, just so you know.
Yeah, no.
I don't disagree with half of what you're saying, because you're not wrong. We got here because of women's lib and all that kind of shit, and that was kind of where I was coming from with my joke. We were forced for years to not be able to say crap, right? I mean, I even love the Dave Chappelle bit about that whole thing. It's like, just because she's wearing, what she's wearing doesn't mean that she's a whore. Well, she is wearing a whore's uniform. So you cannot mistake me for walking up to her and go, "Excuse me, Miss Whore."
Hello, Miss Whore. Good to see you, Miss Whore.
No different if I walked up to a cop on the street and be like, "Hey, Mr. Officer," he'd be like, "Excuse me, why do you think I'm a police officer just because I'm dressed this way?" So yeah, I mean, it is true. There's this grounds. And look, here's my other problem with this. Sydney Sweeney's a grown woman. Why are they having problems with her? A, because of her assets. B, because the women that are griping about this look like they're trans. So they just jealous of her freaking, of her looks. And 3, if she was some 17-year-old out there flaunting her sexuality, they'd be going, "You go, girl, you show them." Because it wasn't 5-10 years ago, these were the same sons of bitches that were making or doing that exact thing for what's her face, Miley Cyrus, when she was barely even 18 or whatever, and she's out there.
She's naked grinding on a
48-year-old
man on live television.
And these were the same people who were like, "You should not be shaming her. She's allowed to do that." Yeah. And it's like,
the thing is, I don't think people, we should be walking around in whores uniforms. I have daughters. I hope that they're conservative and pious, but I also hope that they embrace their femininity. There's nothing wrong with being beautiful, looking beautiful, dressing beautiful. You know, I'm not saying go start an OnlyFans.
What you're saying, Brian, is boils down to the parents, right? It boils down a lot to how a kid is raised, and that's kind of where Odin's coming from too. I think.
Right.
And also,
I think it's. I'm sorry. I think it's funny that there's this classical Abby put up a picture of Audrey Hepburn next to Sydney.
One of the most beautiful women on the planet.
Exactly. She's one of the most beautiful women that's ever lived.
Right.
She's gorgeous. So
if anything too, like it's more of, for me, a comment about how our culture has changed more so than the individual persons that are involved, because all of this is product of culture, right? Because at that time in history, like this is what was deemed to be, I guess you could say, deemed to be appropriate. This was what was deemed to be kind of sexy. And now we have obviously a very strong turn. But to Tom's point, a lot of the reason why we now have almost the over-sexualization in modern culture especially is actually probably a lot to do with the hardcore radical feminist wave and feminist movement, because it was all about what? It was all about sexual liberation in the 1960s. Part of that meant, not dressing in a more conservative fashion, right? Not dressing in a more, what's the word for it? A more, oh man, I'm blanking out on it. It's one of the virtues where you dress modestly. So like modest dress, right, was no longer something that was seen to be followed, but was seen to be instead rejected. So it's amazing how the same people that led to the current state where we are, where people will dress like this and people will ogle them because it is a natural thing, right? Men have a natural attraction in this way, right? This is not something that is cultural. It's actually something that's built within us as human beings. But at the same time, it does have to be tempered as well, right? So that's why, as I said, I'm that middle ground where it's like, yes, we can't just go after and say, oh, men can't be men. But at the same time, we have to say, but there is a point where men start to act more like animals than like human beings.
Yes,
and I think that we have to find that balance.
I can find a beautiful woman just as attractive. I don't have to see 90% of your body to be like to ogle you. Okay. They're like, men are hardwired. Our reptilian brains are literally hardwired to see a woman and to have that exact reaction. I don't have to actually see your naughty bits to have that reaction. I just don't.
We're all going to look though.
And the extreme, this is the problem. Everything is always extreme. It's either let's go full on sexual liberation, you 17-year-olds start an OnlyFans and never get married, never have kids, or let's all wear burqas. Like, can everyone just chill a little bit? Wear a nice bathing suit to the beach. It doesn't have to be a string bikini. It doesn't have to be a G-string. But you know what? You go ahead and wear a bikini. Like, why does it have to be either or? It's either a burqa in the ocean or completely nude. There's no in between with these insane people.
I just think it's funny that people are all bent out of shape because Sydney Sweeney showed us some cleavage.
Also, her family is a bunch of Republicans. They found out that her family was a bunch of like
that's what this is really about.
Hey, what happened? Who knows about this? Who could speak to this matter?
Oh, it didn't take him long to dig that up.
Yeah, it took him 5 minutes. Her entire family is wearing MAGA hats, dude.
I did hear that she might possibly be a closet MAGA supporter, so that might be good for her.
It's not hard to find people's registration half the time either.
I'd love to see Trump sign her boobs. I would.
Those are great assets there.
And I'm Catholic. I was an altar boy and everything.
It's America's rack.
Hey, Gerry,
you're doing fantastic, Sweeney. I love your work.
Sydney Sweeney is America's rack. I like that. That's good. That's good.
I'll sign Gary's boobs at the next meetup. We've got some gifted memberships. We've got Mr. Anderson, who gifted 5 Salty Nerd Podcast memberships. Thank you so much. Very generous of you, as well as thank you to Mr. William Forbes, who gifted another 5 Salty Nerd Podcast membership, bringing us up to 10. And then Jillian comes in with 5 more gifted Salty Nerd Podcasts.
That's fantastic.
What's the goal?
Our goal is 5 for the day. We have now hit 15.
It's more. It's 20. It's now 20.
How is it now 20?
Just because I said so.
Oh, well, no, it's actually let's
because we already got 5. Don't tell them that. You need more.
Okay, well, that's 15 new ones that we got today, which means that Mexican Ironman's $1 million Salty Nerd Podcast bonus kicks in.
Oh, Jesus.
That my bonus kicks in once we get above 5. Now, I have no basis for that. I'm making that up completely, and Mr. Kadish will fire me after that. Well, let's get to what I would call the salty topic of the day. And what we're going to do is we're going to combine 2 topics in a one. For those who have been watching closely in the media, we had some breaking news on Joe Rogan where our good buddy Zack Snyder managed to think that more people watched Rebel Moon. I see Tom winding up for the pitch here. I see Tom winding up. Tom's winding up for the pitch. I see Brian winding up for the pitch. Were you winding up too?
I was just.
He's smoking already. Look at him.
I was mimicking Tom.
Two things happened. We got a little disrespect of DC fans from Zack Snyder, and we got some Rebel Moon action where Joe, for those of you who don't know, Zack Snyder, let me just share my screen. This is going to be really tough to do because I am probably the most Snyder body of everybody on this panel easily. Right? Is that fair to say? Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
Definitely not me.
That scared even Brian.
Sorry. Zack Snyder says Rebel Moon has around 80 to 90 million views, which means more people probably saw Rebel Moon than saw Barbie in the theater, right? It's quoting Zack Snyder.
That's not how the Force works.
Quoting Zack Snyder, you people. Quoting Zack Snyder. That's how.
There's your first mistake, Mike.
Yep.
Can I finish?
Quoting Zack Snyder. No.
You're not making this any easier on me, Tom. That's how crazy Netflix is. That's the distribution model they've set up. Netflix is able to insert something in a popular culture that's so like a deep cut, like a documentary about Formula One. How else do you get that to the people, right? No way. You release that in a theater. 5 people go. Literally, 5 people go. Put it on TV and like 100 million people see it. It's crazy. God,
you didn't sound. Hold up. You didn't sound gay enough there. Go back and reread that.
It does have a little bit of.
You have to say it with a lisp.
Yeah,
like this. Zack Snyder says the Rebel Moon has around 80 to 90 million views.
They spent an hour talking about sexy men. Did you guys watch the interview? It was like 2 hours and some minutes. It is like the Snyder cut of interviews. It's forever long.
Oh, that's a real selling point.
That's an actual short Joe Rogan podcast.
And they literally talk about like Batman and Superman and stuff like that for maybe 10 minutes. Otherwise, most of it's just stroking Zach's ego and talking about naked men and naked men sleeping with boys back in Sparta. And how it would be lovely if we got back to that again after the apocalypse.
I saw that part. That was so weird and awkward.
Well, he was making some of the weirdest excuses for grown men.
By the way, I'm a Zack Snyder fan. I think some of that entire interview was just
let's go from the top and work our way down, and Tom can bring us home. But let's start with you, Brian. Brian, what say you of the Snyder news this week?
I mean, I don't get. First off, there's no effing way Rebel Moon was was seen by more than Barbie. Sorry, guys. I think Zack Snyder is drinking his own Kool-Aid lately. He has way too many hyper Snyder heads that are just stroking his ego to the point where he's saying and displaying a lot of interesting, extremely narcissistic emotional tones. But that said, I still like his stuff. I still like his movies. Like, I didn't hate Rebel Moon. I just didn't like it. It was okay. I still appreciate some of his movies. But you're right, Tom. That interview where he was talking about the Spartan boys and all that was so weird. It was so weird. And I don't know if they're just trying
we're going to get to that in a minute.
They would love each other. We're
going to get to that in a second. But Vader,
what's the beautiful thing between men?
Vader, what say you about Zack Snyder in the news this week?
A man and little boys.
I think Zack Snyder's sniffing his own farts, to be perfectly honest with you. Like Brian said, there's no way that movie got that many views. Otherwise, if it had, it would just be taking over the entire lexicon of pop culture. Right? I mean,
the way Barbie did.
I mean, I think people turned on Rebel Moon out of curiosity. And most people turned it off after about 10 minutes. But yet that still counts as a view, probably in the world of Netflix. I think if those numbers are real, then Netflix needs to adjust how it gets its stats. I guess that's really all I have to say about it. It doesn't make sense to me. I think Zack Snyder is, like I said, I think he's smelling his own farts and drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit too much, for sure.
Gary, what say you?
Well, if you do the math, you know that about 55 million people saw Barbie in the theater. And if you do the average, it's like $11 a ticket, and you count the 545 million that it made. So, but his numbers, it's like, first of all, nobody gets to see Netflix's numbers. So how does he qualify that statement? I mean, it really does sound like he's fish bragging. That's all it sounds like to me.
Odin, what say you?
I mean, he's clearly full of it. Yeah, the one correction I would have is what Brian's saying. Like lately, he's been doing this. Like he's been doing this his entire career. Like he's always been just completely full of himself.
Maybe I'm just noticing it now.
I'm hoping this is the moment where finally some of the Snyder Bros realize, maybe he's not as amazing as I once thought he was. And then maybe even in a couple years, we'll actually, get some admission that his films aren't as good as some people claim. But we're working there. We're trying to try to get there. But yeah, basically, for him to claim this, he's claiming inside information that no one has access to, that no one can actually confirm. And it's very almost like Gnostic in thinking, where it's like, oh, there's a secret knowledge that only I have access to, and no one else have access to this information. And because I have access, that means that what I say is therefore reality. And it's like, no, that's not how reality works, Zach.
Yeah.
And as someone mentioned, and it's a good point, if this was actually true, then there would have been so many more trends. There would have been so many more things happening with Rebel Moon, but no one's talking about Rebel Moon anymore. No one, except for Zack Snyder, except for some of the Snyder Bros maybe, but no one's actually talking about it. Barbie is still being talked about. And that's not just because of the fact that it's got, the awards recognition and things like that, but it's also because the film did have this cultural zeitgeist moment, right? Where it, especially with the whole Barbenheimer thing, that is still something that people will reference and bring up. No one talks, I haven't even thought about Rebel Moon until like the award show that I do, the Ravens, like just because it got nominated for some of the worst movie categories of the year.
Odin,
that's the only thing that's ever reminded me of it is that thing in this conversation here. So
Odin, the Barbieheimer thing will literally be talked about in film classes.
Yeah.
It'll be something that I went to film school before I got wise and got a better job offer. And there's some movies and some cultural events that is literally part of the curriculum. Barbieheimer will be part of film history. It'll be part of film class. They will teach it.
Well, Brian, Rebel Moon will be part of film classes in the future as well, but it'll be the class of how not to make a movie.
How not to make a movie. Yeah, it's funny because I didn't even like Barbie or Oppenheimer, but I recognize their cultural significance.
Mm-hmm.
Rebel Moon, it's so arrogant calling your movie Rebel Moon Part 1. I hate that so much.
It's like how not to make a Star Wars movie in the future. Don't.
Although I think the lightsabers look cooler.
Now, in addition to this news, Tom Connors, I'm going to shoot it to you, and I want you to bring up some of the comments. I saw what you posted on Twitter, and then I had to go see it for myself. Zack Snyder not only made some ridiculous claims, what I view about his movie, but also some possibly disturbing and questionable statements about Spartans and this. In general,
well, I mean, his statements about Spartans were actually accurate. The problem is how he was acting like a giddy little schoolboy when he was talking about it, making excuses for it, saying it was all about beautiful love between a man and a boy, so they knew who to fight for on the battlefield, and just they go on this. His goes on this long soliloquy. And look, I've said a lot about this. You can go see Midnight's Edge After Dark from Thursday night or whatever night it was, Tuesday or Thursday, whatever we talked about it. And I mean, we spent almost the entire show.
2 hours and 47 minutes.
Having fun at Zach's expense. And really, at this point, he's earned it because, first of all, beyond all the stuff you guys just talked about, right? I mean, he tries to quantify the whole Barbie thing. And he does even kind of, at least, I'll give him credit that he does go in there and say, well, it's not the same as, going to the theater. You have access to Netflix at home, which is him acknowledging that the amount of people that watched Rebel Moon, a good portion of those people you cannot expect would have gone to see it in theater. The reason is they watched even a part of it, if they did, is because they had access to it now and they're going to give it a shot, right? That's just the typical way this thing works. And you can't quantify how that would work in a theater. We do have a few numbers to go by if Odin wants to jump in afterwards and let us know. It did get a limited release, and I don't know how well it played in that limited release. but I wouldn't say it was anything to write home about because we didn't see any big headlines about it or anything like that, and it didn't get really talked about all that much, and Rebel Moon didn't even trend all that much. And he's making all these excuses for why it's so great to be a straight-to-streaming director now, when every other director out there is complaining that streaming is ruining movies, right? Like, so I don't even, it's almost like he's that kid who didn't get what he wanted for Christmas, and he's just trying to go, well, I'm happy with it. You know, I love it. See, it's this, it's that, it's the other. It's this great thing, you know, and or whatever insert thing you want to put in there, because to me, he's just delusional as hell. He has become the equivalent of a straight-to-video director, and he acts like he can beat the biggest movie of the year last year. And you wonder why his fans think that the hashtag, you know, fire David Zaslav and restore the Snyderverse and stuff like that are going to work. Do you really think they're going to fire the guy who had the biggest movie of the year last year because you want a couple of superheroes back? Seriously? Of a failing franchise? I love the audacity these people have to think that they're going to have the power to prove, and then they go through their numbers and their bullshit about how supposedly the Snyderverse was somehow magically, you know, profitable, when, let's be real, Justice League was the first movie in history to lose money twice, right? There's been movies that have been re-released, and I'm not counting that. They literally went back and spent the equivalent of what it would cost to make an entire freaking movie, not just a movie, but one of these superhero movies, to finish a movie that wasn't done, that he told his fans was, and put them into a fervor. So they bothered the studio enough that they spent another $90 million on this piece of shit, and nobody finished watching it.
I did. I love that movie.
You're like one of the few people, Brian. I'm just going to say, though, look at the statistics on the panel. I guarantee you, most of us didn't finish watching it.
Me and Brian,
we disliked it.
I hated the Justice version, but I loved the Snyder cut.
Whatever you want to say about it, that's fine, but it didn't make the studio money. In fact, it lost them a lot more money at the end of the day. Because so in that respect, and what he did is he sold a bill of goods that wasn't true. He got busted by the studio for having nothing but a bunch of fake bot accounts. And it's the same thing here. Where are these magic numbers, Zach? Do you understand the amount of people throughout the entire world who went and saw Barbie compared to your little Star Wars ripoff movie? Mm-hmm. that he describes as, it's basically like the Magnificent Seven meets Star Wars in space. Star Wars is already in space, you fucking moron!
Well, that's true.
Oh my God, and that is Zack Snyder. He's a fucking man-child. I'm a man-child, but he is like the type of man-child that I just want to go, how the fuck do you survive? Do you have to remind yourself to breathe every 10 minutes? Like, are you that fucking stupid? And let's not even get into what he said about superheroes. Sorry about the language, folks. I know we usually try to keep it a little more PG-ish here, but
we do.
This guy was insane. And this 2.5 hours was
Matt, Tom.
egotistical interview I've seen in my life, probably, or one of the most. I mean, this guy is literally one of those guys who thinks his own farts do not stink. In fact, when he does it, because he thinks he is the fucking bee's knees. He is God's gift to directors, when he's basically an overpraised cinematographer at best. And I lump him in with a lot of these other directors who think there's some Kubrick, and it's like, you couldn't even sniff his farts, buddy. And that's where I'm at with this shit. He is just so full of himself, and I can't wait to see Rebel Moon Part 2 fall flat on its face. And Netflix, if they want to keep spending money on this moron, go for it.
So we already had Rebel Moon Part 1, and we got Rebel Moon Part 2 coming out, right? Which both together are supposedly,
don't forget the director's cuts.
Yeah, I was just getting the director's cuts, which are going to be like, it's going to be like 9 hours long, and they're completely different movies according to Zack Snyder, right? So who knows?
I want him to put his money where his mouth is. I want him to release this movie in theaters. Yeah. I want to see, like, oh, how about this? Somehow work out a deal, put your money where your mouth is. Let this thing just run for a week just to see how it does. And I guarantee you it's not going to be good.
It'll get 90 million tickets sold.
And not just a limited release like they did with the first one, because it was in like 4 theaters.
That's the thing. That's why no one's reporting it.
Yeah.
No, like I went to Box Office Pro. I went to Box Office Mojo. I went to the numbers. No one is reporting any actual box office for the movie, and so it's not even a good thing to. I think they had like special fan screenings. Like it didn't even have an actual release in any way. So of course, like fan events gonna have a lot of people show up because they're fans.
But if they don't even tell us,
we had
that
it
makes
in
you wonder,
5
did anybody
theaters.
really show up? Exactly.
We had it in 5 theaters and it was sold out. It's like, yeah, because you had it in 5 theaters and you have hardcore Snyder bros that are going to show up for anything.
And even those people were probably came out of that theater shaking their head.
But considering that Netflix ain't even reporting it or talking about it, or they didn't have headlines about it, tells you that I wonder if they even sold those out, Odin. That's my point. Like,
I know.
Well, Odin, I pulled up the numbers and I've never seen. Look, you're one of the pros on this topic. I've never seen anything like this. What is?
Yeah, it's because again, and also
I know it was
Box Office Mojo. It's the same thing. It just says nothing is there. In fact, when I searched on Box Office Mojo, something that's never happened to me, I put Rebel Moon in the search bar and it said there are no pages that match this. I had to go to like Google and put it in there, and then the page was there. So that's how non-existent the box office footprint of this movie was. Like, it's just insane for him to make this.
I've never seen anything like this, guys, ever.
Well, what's really weird is they got movies from like back in the day that were released in theaters for like a week. That only made like $1,000, and they actually have the amount of money on here. Just so the fact that they don't have anything on here for Rebel Moon, I think that gives me pause. I'm like, so what are they hiding here? Like, because like I said, if it was such a huge success with all these fans, why didn't they see all these headlines about it?
There's never going to be an honest discourse about any of this kind of stuff until these streaming services start releasing the actual.
Well, wasn't Netflix supposed to start doing the whole reporting numbers now? Because now they're getting into advertising and stuff anyway. Same thing with everybody else.
They announced they're going to start reporting them, but I think the way that press release came out when I remembered is that they're now tracking it with metrics, and we're not going to get those numbers initially, I think, for another 3 or 4 months based on this past quarter.
Yeah, Culture Casino would know more about that probably.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Any other Snyder comments, guys, before we go to a couple super chats?
He sucks.
Well, I will point out that I've always had a beef with him.
You have? Why?
Well, if you guys don't remember, the fanboys tried to cancel me, really tried to, and I ended up on NPR doing an interview because they failed at doing it because you got to give a shit. To be canceled, and I just didn't care. I just kept like my favorite one I responded to, did you say this? And I said, yes, I said that, and I said this. Oh shit, and I said that. Oh my god, I just keep saying things. Fuck you. And that was it. Wow. And NPR did the interview. Lady is really nice, and I got thrown under the bus for what I said because I criticized him for being a nihilist and that he raised the child in nihilism. I said, and he's got no room to criticize anybody. And that's my problem. And it was over when he talked smack to what do you call it? I just forgot their name. The gamers.
Geeks and Gamers.
Geeks and Gamers.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a shot at him. And my God. I said maybe we should just do a show one day on how not to raise a child in nihilist home, and then whine about it later when she is self-ended.
Oh my goodness, that's hardcore, dude.
Oh,
if nothing matters, then
as funny as I can be very hardcore, and I was really pissed at what he did.
Yeah,
because that stuff with Geeks and Gamers, because they really fucking helped, and he walks out there and just completely disses him. It was insulting.
Yeah, that was quite the fiasco. Yeah,
and they tried to cancel me, and they failed miserably because I don't care. I've got other things I can be doing, like a graphic novel or comics.
Well, and I don't know much about all I know about the situation with his daughter that is no longer with us is that she was adopted. She had a very tragic background and all that kind of stuff anyway. So I have no idea what led to it. I'm not going to, even pretend or speculate on him and her. But I will say this, in that interview, this is one thing that made me give me pause of him as a parent, Gary, just real quick. Is when he talks about having his son in Watchmen and how he really wanted Rorschach's mom to be topless. He was all obsessed with the fact of her being topless when she slapped the boy. He even made this big deal about he had his own son play the part so he wouldn't have to deal with a lot of the bullshit, right? And the studio heads or studio people were even giving him crap saying, no, you can't do that. The only way you can do it, they finally conceded to him, is if it's the boy's mother. And she happened to be on the set that day, because he was in the movie, even though they aren't together anymore. And he's like, well, we have a great relationship and all this other crap. And it's like, okay, we get it, Zach. You're fucking gay. Okay. You're a closet homosexual, but that has nothing to do with this. What this has to do with is he's like, he turns to her and he gives her the look and she goes, she instantly knew what I meant. And she goes, oh no, I'm not doing it. So he was willing to put his kid through that traumatic experience for a fucking movie. I don't care. Honestly, the fact that you put any kid through that to me is just enough.
Well, we're
right?
dead.
It's like,
and we know better than that.
Yeah, it's one thing. There's ways you can film things. And I remember talking about this with the whole cutie situation. It's like, look, there's ways you can film things and do things in movies and have kids involved without them actually, quote unquote, being involved. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just, and in this day and age, I can't believe that we're even hearing shit like this and this guy's still got a job.
Well, let's take a quick snippet before we go to the super chats of some of the things that he said on that podcast. Here's one that you guys are going to love. Ready?
Like, people are always like, well, Batman can't kill, right? So Batman can't kill is canon. And I'm like, okay, well, the first thing I want to do when you say that is I want to see what happens. And they go like, well, don't put him in a situation where he has to kill someone. I'm like, well, that's just like, you're protecting your God in a weird way, right? You're making your God irrelevant if he can't be in that situation.
That is a dumb argument.
It's dumb.
It's just fucking dumb. Look, I got into a discussion because I'm friends with Chuck and, Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan. And we got into it, not a heated, but it was an interesting argument. And I said, look, as a character, if you're trying to be realistic in any way, shape, or form with Batman, then the answer is there's a risk of him killing somebody anytime he strikes them in the head or in their torso. Period. Anytime. There's the risk that goes with that. His goal is to not kill them. That's his goal. It doesn't mean he's going to be lucky every single time in reality. And so I understand that and it's not canon. It's just a goal within the Batman universe that Batman should not intend to kill somebody. If it's the potential outcome, it's the potential outcome. He's looking at it all fucked up. And this is what's pissing people off.
It's also one of those story elements that it's not even so much about about superheroes in general, but just heroes in general. It's almost kind of like the famous movie rule.
Yeah.
Right. A character, no matter how good they are, no matter how much you like them, there's always certain rules. Like if they kill somebody, even if it's an accident, they're going to pay for that death by the end of that movie. Right. And that's kind of one of those things with Batman is Commissioner Gordon always has that excuse that he doesn't have to sick the cops on Batman simply because, yes, he's working outside the law. Yes, he's doing things we can't and shouldn't do, but he hasn't broke that one rule. He hasn't crossed that one line, where we have to go after him now, because if he were to actually kill somebody, then it'd be a different story. Like at that point, Gordon has to turn off everything else and go, nope, I can't let this go on any longer. Right. Because that's kind of just one of those, mental lines that once he crossed that, he's just as bad as the villains as well. Right. Like that's the other thing that has to be brought up. And again, I'm not in this world of black and white where I agree with Gerry. In a reality, Batman is most likely at some point going to kill somebody, whether it's on accident or not. It's just going to happen. Look at that warehouse sequence. There's no way most of those guys don't walk away with some permanent damage.
No,
I guarantee you over half those guys were dead.
Dead and maimed to the point where they're not going to talk, walk, eat with a spoon again.
Right.
Right. Like,
right. That should be a post-production scene where they're all in the hospital.
That's why I love those videos that guy does where he goes through all the damage that people get in movies, and they tell you how many times they would die and how many times they would be in the hospital or bones broken and all that other kind of stuff. It's like, yes, and a movie's a movie, a comic book's a comic book. We get it. In reality, it's not the same thing. But part of that also comes from the comic code. Yes, back in the day, Batman would kill at certain times, but a lot of that was because Batman started in a comic where he was fighting mostly gangsters, right? And a lot of gangsters were killing each other at that point in reality. So it was kind of reflective of the times. And then Batman evolved with the times, with the code. And it was just one of those things that most superheroes, it was kind of a code they had that they just wouldn't cross that line. It's not up to them to make that decision, right? Like that's kind of Batman's MO. I will stop the criminal, but it's not my choice what happens to them afterwards, right? But of course that sets them up for the humorous idea that these guys are so crazy, like Joker and Penguin, that they just get tossed in Arkham Asylum and they break themselves out again. So right, like so that just gives you the cyclical nature of these stories. It's just part of the way they
If
work.
you go back to Dark Knight, they use the term escalation, and escalation goes both ways. And Batman is going to fight with the force that is required to defeat whoever it is he's going up against. Period. And he does kind of, he's not going to like nuke him. He's never going to go that far, but he's going to put every effort into
only in a Tim Burton movie.
Yeah, only a Tim Burton movie. But there, I tell people all the time, the first Batman had weapons, pistols, because of the fact that he was borrowed from the Shadow, and the Shadow carried 2 Colt 45s. And so Batman was given pistols for the exact same reason. But eventually that was taken away. And I think it made 2 issues, right? With the pistols. Am I right, Tom?
At least a couple times, I think. I think
it was exactly, 2 issues that he had pistols, and then they went away. And I thought that was a good choice to leave it to that, because Batman is supposed to also be, if you remember Detective Comics with Denny O'Neil, he was a detective, and he was often doing research and investigations, but not just always fighting. But the fight would come eventually because he knew he had to take him down.
I always thought Batman just didn't kill because he didn't want to go down to the same level as the criminals.
That's a big.
Well, it wasn't about revenge,
and, so. And he
really did want them arrested. He wanted them to go to prison and serve their time. That's the other reason. But he would use what he would try to consider. I guarantee you that, especially when Chuck was writing, it was less than lethal force.
Well, going off of that whole thing, the big part of it too was you can't bring the Joker back next week if he dies, right?
Yep,
that was another thing.
Your best villains don't die.
That's always been the running joke in Batman, right? It's like you just got to keep Arkham filled up so they can escape and come out, and we can write some more comic books about
more stories.
The villain of the month, So I was like, oh, Joker escaped again. Why did you just kill him this time? Well, if we kill him, he can't escape again and make more stories.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, so. And that was what I was saying about the whole cyclical nature of it, right? Like these bad guys are so crazy that they don't go to trial and actually go to jail. They just get tossed into Arkham Asylum. And then the beauty of this world is Arkham's are actually a breeding ground for these guys because of Hugo Strange and all that kind of, that's the beauty of the world. It's built-in thing. It's like a, and maybe it's something from that era of, the comics code, and it really kind of became solidified with Adam West. That could very well be, but
right.
To me, it's one of those things about Batman to where it's like, it's almost, if he killed people, he'd just be the Punisher then, right? And even most guys don't get the Punisher. And that's the thing, is the Punisher kills, but it's a specific reason why, and he won't, he still has certain things that he won't do, but he's different from Batman in that way because of that whole thing. And it almost feels like he's kind of an old school Batman because the guys that he's usually going up against would be kind of more like old school Batman.
And that's the nature.
Well, that echoes something you and I talked about before, is that all he's trying to do is turn Batman into the Punisher.
Yeah.
Because you and I talked about this before.
Yeah. Nobody, that's what we have the Punisher for. Nobody wants
It's the nature of it's the nature of heroes and anti-heroes. There's always going to be a line. Right. And it's like even anti-heroes, even ones there like the Punisher who's doing these very terrible things, there's still a line for him, right? There's still things that he will not do.
No children, no women.
Yeah. And so for someone like a Snyder, he says, oh, there's rules that you're following. Okay, well, I'm just going to subvert that and just do my own thing, which normally I'm like, okay, yeah, I think someone should do their own thing. But if you're going to take charge of a property that is rooted in lore, that is rooted in source material, that is rooted in decades and decades of character development, you can't just then come in and say, okay, you know what? I'm just going to crap all over that. It's like, how about you make something that's your own? And guess what? When he does, it's Rebel Moon. And we all see what happens when he has a brand new original characters that he's making, which again, even then to say it's a brand new original characters is a bit of a stretch, but it's like, okay, the best you could do in this way is garbage.
Well, in the immortal words of Alfred Hitchcock, there's nothing new under the sun. There's not been a new character created since the Bible, really, or story. It's just original ways of telling it. And he doesn't know how to do things originally. He's very unoriginal with everything he does. It's like an echo of something else. And that's problematic. And that's why he's a terrible filmmaker. The only good things that he does, which are the ones I'm fans of, are the things that he adapted directly from a comic book or graphic novel.
Mm-hmm. Well,
speaking of, hold on, I'm gonna put a cap and lid on the Snyder talk for a second.
Good.
I'm going to, because we got some super chats we're going to read, and then I want to actually talk about Gary's book for a second, and before we get into the next round of topics, I want to give a huge shout out to Regis Red, who gifted $5 Canadian. He says, I think Jad Dax, Major Kira are the perfect balance of sexy and restrained.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I was crushing hard on Dax, seriously crushing hard back in the day.
Yep.
Unlimited Power,
buddy,
who's been a member for 6 months, says, Tom, do an iconic movie line using your Adam Sandler impression. All right, Tom, you're up.
I'm going to give him an offer. He can't refuse. Jibbity-doo.
That's good.
Big thank you to William Forbes, who contributed another $10, says, damn, son, Connor's on a rant, and I'm for it. I was a Snyder bro, much like Mike, but after taking time, slowly realized he's actually trash. Mr. Forbes, our meeting of the Snyder Bro Anonymous team meeting is every Wednesday at 7:00. I'm going to start, William, with you. Hi, my name is Mike. Everybody on the panel?
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
I am a recovering Snyder bro ho, and because I was a Snyder bro, it made my life completely unmanageable and out of control. I am here for help. Thank you.
Stop living life in slow-mo, Mike.
Yeah. I'm sure there's like a Discord out
Going
there recovering
to
Snyder bros.
next super chat.
Super chat.
William Forbes, $10. Going back into action because that's how Snyder does it. I enjoyed the Snyder Cut, but Rebel Moon actually legitimately sucked. That Rogan interview was weird. Romanticizing child love abuse. Not cool, man. I quickly turned my whole back on him after that. Yeah. William Forbes, you're not the only one, bro. I got to tell you, I have never this week. Okay, first I was in recovery. This week, I'm just ashamed of all of my bot activity that I did on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and everywhere else for those 2 years that I did it.
You know, that's crazy because I didn't get that far into that podcast. I got about.
Oh, you didn't?
No, oh. I didn't know he talked about this kind of stuff. And
well, they sit there and they talk about.
It's really making me question about whether I want to even watch any of his movies at all going forward.
Well, they talk about 300 forever because they keep talking about, you know, the working out and the men this and the men that and blah, 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 blah. Like I said, look, clearly, if you listen to it for a while, it's like, yeah, Zach, we get it. You're a closet homo.
Yeah, I guess I just missed that.
Kiss a dude and get it over with, right? Like, but they start talking about it, and he actually starts talking about the young men sleeping with the boy, or the men sleeping with the young boys and being their mentors or teachers or all this stuff. And he goes on and on and on about how they were really lovers on the battlefield, and that's what made them bond. And, you know, and it's like, do you even hear yourself right now? Like, I
mean, I get it that things were different back, you know, thousands.
Because they come back again at the end about it because they come back to 300 again, and they bring up how the gay community went after the book and the movie, and then he makes a big excuse for the line that's in the movie about, you know, effing boys or whatever, and he comes around back to it like this whole thing with like, it's just the gayest movie ever made, so it's amazing, it's this, it's that, it's the other. So it's like, yeah, whatever, dude. Like,
I know. I think he's going to end up regretting going on Rogan before this is all said and done. So
I don't think he's self-aware enough, man. I really don't.
Probably not.
Yeah, this goes with what I've always said about Hollywood. Hollywood can't learn; they're incapable of learning from their mistakes.
Also, this is the guy, right, that went on a charity stream and then immediately tore down the people hosting the charity stream.
Yeah, exactly.
And therefore cut into the money that could have been made for said charity. So yeah,
he clearly
and then he sat there and praised the whole thing about them raising money for the kids on this podcast.
Yep.
Hey,
he never said Geeks and Gamers once.
I wasn't on that podcast, but I was. I had told Uche ahead of time because I was one of Uche's first and biggest channel members. I was watching them all the time, and I told them I was going to drop a big chat if we needed a super chat. And I said I got 500 to drop. I dropped 500 literally seconds before Zack Snyder said that crap, and and it felt like
you tried to unsend it, didn't you?
it was the only. You know what? That's what my heart wanted to do, but I couldn't do it because I knew it was for a good
what they were
cause.
doing.
It was for a good cause, and so I did it. But I was waiting for Uche, and I was waiting to get, but the donations just were skyrocketing. So I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'll just let money go. And I had planned on it for like 2 weeks. $500 is a lot of money, people. Come on, everybody, that's a lot of money. I mean, even to me, who makes a good amount of money, that's a lot of money, $500. And it went, and I just felt like as soon as he said that about the guys, I just I had a physical reaction, like I felt like I got punched in the gut by this guy.
Well, you might as well just come out and said that these guys are a bunch of racist, bigot, misogynistic pigs. Mm-hmm. But give me your fucking money anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt, Tom.
Basically, what I got out of that segment of the podcast was that even toxic fans can do something good once in a while. That's kind of what the legitimate gist of that was when they were talking about it.
Well, and he's unaware of his fans and how bad they are too. That's the other problem. Look, I'm not going to try and say fans are a problem. They're usually not the problem. But the Snyder Bros are one of the few fandoms that I actually would use the term toxic around. Because they expand.
That's tried to cancel me, Tom.
Exactly. Well, they have me too several times over. All I got to do after this show, I'm sure my Twitter will be lit right the fuck up. Because that's the thing is they hate me. They hate me with a passion because I've hated that bastard for years because I put my faith in him in the worst way when it came to Superman. And I even tried to give him a second chance with BBS. And just because I had a few rough things to say about him in a stupid chat group, I got booted and I've been harassed ever since. And this was even before I was a YouTuber, really. Right? So this has followed me before this stuff.
I love the hate
amplified.
It's awesome when I read it. I'm like, awesome.
One thing we can all get behind is we actually do have someone on the panel with something new, creative to share and talk about.
Vindicated Inc.
Yeah, that's right. And we're gonna watch a trailer. Everybody, here we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Meet the Seattle Vigilante. Like so many comic heroes, this warrior hides his identity. But his identity isn't the only secret he has to keep. After grievous wounds received during combat, Tier 1 operator John Russell begins to recover and comes to terms with his new reality of being an amputee. And as he learns how to use his new prosthetic limb, he finds himself caught up in the bureaucratic red tape that too many wounded veterans experience, the exhausting medboard process. Out of sheer frustration, John takes it out on the criminal scum of the city. But when reality kicks in, John realizes he started something that's having an impact on the greater world around him, and thus has to reevaluate his motives. And moreover, just how far is John willing to go to finish this war he's declared against the criminals in Seattle? And will he even survive? From the creator of IDW's award-winning graphic novel Code Word Geronimo comes a new story about a different kind of warrior, Vindicated Inc., the first of its kind disabled veteran action hero comic. The Vindicated Inc. graphic novel crowdfunding campaign on fundmycomic.com is provided in the description of this video. We hope you become a contributor. Please share this link. Thank you.
Hey, it's me, Big Head.
Good stuff, Gary.
Hey, Big
Tell
Head.
us, tell us about it.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, man.
Number one, what gives them the authority to be a training group?
Yeah, what gives them the authority?
There we go.
What?
Over to
You jump to the next video.
Oh my god, that's funny.
Who has autoplay on? Jeez.
So
whoever did that voiceover sucks.
Vindicated is pretty much my magnum opus. I don't think I've ever done anything as good. I've won awards. I was the first graphic novel. My work, Code Word Geronimo, first Walmart graphic novel they ever sold, went to number 1 at Walmart. We outsold Transformers All Hail Megatron for IDW. But I feel like this is the book that's it for me. And I'll do other stuff. I know I will, but Vindicated is like it's not even me. The subject in this and what it's about is so important, dealing with veteran issues, dealing with disabled veterans, and not only dealing with them, but making all 3 of the main heroes in the story are all disabled veterans, listed as disabled, but clearly they're completely enabled to do what they do. And we've got a guy who loses his leg in combat. He's a tier 1 operator, which means you have 3 tiers in special forces, in Navy, SEALs, all of these guys. The tier 1 means that they're in a constant state of combat. They're in conflict at all times. And they're at war at all times with somebody. And that's how they work. And they are the best at what they do. Now, each tier has its important job, but tier 1 are in constant combat. And I took a guy who is based on members of the 75th Ranger Division and turned that team into, fictional characters. And I cast real actors as the characters in the book. Kurt Yeager from Sons of Anarchy is the lead character, John Russell, who is a nod to one of my childhood best friends and to the character from Hombre with Paul Newman, which was my dad's favorite Western. And I also, made my grandfather one of the main characters. He suffers from the same PTSD my grandfather did, shook until the day he died from shell shock, as they called it then. And I basically wanted to make these guys the main characters and turn them into heroes, showing that, hey, we still can do stuff. And in fact, John delivers the line, a bomb isn't a bomb until it explodes. A soldier isn't a soldier until he's doing soldier shit. And so he decides to declare war on the criminal underworld in Seattle where he's at, because he's there due to the fact that he is at the VA there, recovering from the loss of his leg and learning how to walk and fight on his new prosthetic leg, expecting to go back to his unit. But he has the infamous med board. He's red flagged for post-traumatic stress disorder. And so he's got to go through the med board process. And it's like being put in limbo. You don't know if you're going to be a soldier anymore or if you're going to be a veteran. And it's horrifying for a lot of vets, guys that are serving, I should say, that get stuck in this. I've seen it happen. And they threatened me with the same thing. And I just acquiesced. And I'm like, fuck it. I just want out of here. And this guy doesn't. He wants to fight it, and he wants to fight the bad guys. But what he doesn't know, and if you read the book, you'll learn that there's more going on with why he's been red flagged than even he's aware of.
And to do a little salesmanship, I'm going to tell everybody that for $10, you get a Vindicated PDF. For $15, you get a PDF and thank you. For $25, you get a signed book PDF with a thank you. For $35, you get signed book and bookmark with a PDF and a thank you. And for $50, you get a signed, what do you get at the $50 mark? Hold on. Get a signed graphic novel, bookmark, signed by, we get the 11 by 17 pinup poster for $50. Cool. And at the $100 level, you get a ball cap. At the $200 level, you get drawn into the book. Nice.
Yes, I will actually replace a character's face with your face.
Will you draw me like one of your French girls?
Yeah, sure. I do that anyway when you don't know about it. I do a lot of things about you that you don't know.
And for $500, you can get.
Well, you did do this art on here. I'm sure you have a naked version of it.
Of course, I do.
And for $500, you get a private commission. So the link is in the
science.
The link is in the chat.
Plus, there's a maquette that you can get. I've been sculpting it slowly in 3D, and this is going to be really good maquette of. If you scroll down, you can actually see the character right up a little more with the color cover, the alternate cover up. Where did it go? There it is. It is Battle Damaged John, Vindicated. It also, what I'm trying to do, because I've never sculpted in 3D before, is I want to have an exposed battle damage combat ACU pants, so you can actually see the prosthetic leg under the fabric. I'm hoping that'll work, but I definitely am doing the battle damage helmet.
Well, all right, that's exciting.
I'll be putting the link in the chat a couple more times through the show, so make sure you guys hit that and give Gerry some support, man. I already did, so I'm looking forward to getting my copy, man. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, art will be done hopefully by August.
Awesome.
All art.
Awesome.
I'm sorry, Mike.
Awesome. Well, I just gotta keep the show moving along here. One of the things, we've got a bit of a pivot here. One of the things that Matt Vader wanted to cover that wasn't in the original show plan, but which came up as major news this week, has to do with Sweet Baby Inc. And something that happened this way. I'm not sure. I don't know who wants to get into it first, but I'd love to get into it.
I was a big fan. I don't know about you guys early on. Man, I love the red versus blue.
No, that's
Rooster Teeth.
That's Rooster Teeth.
Oh, what were you? I thought you said Rooster Teeth. I'm sorry.
No, I said Sweet
Baby Inc.
Oh, Sweet Baby Inc.
You know what's funny? Rooster Teeth actually has a show called Sweet Baby Inc. It's like their kid version.
Really?
Yeah, Sweet Baby Incorporated. Yeah.
Is it on purpose?
No. This is
it's accidental.
Well, we're at Gamergate 2 level, people, because Sweet Baby Inc. This is the article from Kotaku. It says Sweet Baby Inc. doesn't do what some gamers think it does. No, one company isn't forcing diversity into all your favorite video games. God, talk about gaslighting. Sweet Baby Inc. is not the largest narrative design company in the. I'm going to read the article here that came out here in the magazine. It says Sweet Baby Inc. is not the largest narrative design company in the games industry, nor is it solely responsible for the characters and stories in recent high-profile releases like Alan Wake 2, God of War, yada, yada, yada. Late last month, one of the company's consultants discovered a Steam group dedicated to detecting games that Sweet Baby Inc. has worked on. The purpose, according to Kotaku's article here, the purpose is to encourage people to avoid those games because the group had deemed SBI was pushing a woke agenda by working towards greater diversity, equity, and inclusion. The Steam group now has more than 100,000 followers. Well, actually, it's a lot more than that. Yeah, last I checked.
I've got it on screen if you want to look at it.
All right, yes, I'll bring that up right now here. Was more than a couple 100,000 members. But this Iger, Sweet Baby Inc. isn't new. In October 23, Kiwi Farms post shared similar sentiment, stating that the company's involvement in Remedy's awards-winning Alan Wake 2 was possibly one of the biggest scandals in gaming history. Now let's go to what Gary wants to share.
I also put the link if you want to follow them in the private chat, so you can share that out. I followed them after I saw the first videos about 2 weeks ago, talking about this. Finally getting approved. They finally approved Sweet Baby Inc. Detected over on Steam, showing that Steam is getting tired of their shit too.
I got it. I'm putting the link in the chat.
So this is fantastic. They're at 241,410 followers right now already.
Well, Gary, I know you play video games. What say you about the infusion of woke into various gaming titles?
Well, we've had a problem over at on Call of Duty for a while. That's why their last few games have really had trouble selling. The numbers are down. Their World War II game was just terrible. I bought it, Vanguard. Oh, it was just awful. And I removed it off my hard drive. I played about 3-4 hours of it. I don't want to play this game. It's just bad. But they've got all sorts of problems over there anyway. Activision got bought by Microsoft, and Microsoft is woke as fuck. So it's like, I don't see this getting any better with them. And no matter whether there's a Sweet Baby Inc. or not, and I would like to see them just removed completely. But there's always going to be that fringe element out there. It's a small number of people making a big problem for everybody. And ruining entertainment. Ruining.
And there's major cope going on. PC Gamer itself says released this article. It says this was 2 days ago, a company called Sweet Baby Inc. has become the target of anti-woke gamers because it offers consultancy work and industry standard service that's been normal for years. Who else is a gamer on this panel that wants to talk about this topic?
Vader. Me, and so does Vader.
All right, go ahead,
And I'm
Brian.
a big gamer.
Well, I don't understand this thing where you can criticize people, but then when people criticize you, it's not allowed. Like this whole I'm gonna throw all this bull crap out there, then take my ball and go home. It's okay for there to be a group, and the people that are trying to get this removed they're insane people. There should be a group that detects this and talks about it. It's 100%. It's good actually for the industry for these fans of games to self-police and decide who they're going to support. And if you don't want to support this, that's not a bad thing. You're not a bigot. You're not a racist because you don't want to support a company that's damaging entertainment. And people trying to get that group removed. I mean, they're insane. Like, these are the same people that they refuse to take any criticism from anyone ever. They can go out there, throw all the crap out in the world, yell and scream about everything, be the loudest tiny minority on the internet. But the second anyone pushes up against them, they just scream every single racist, bigot, homophobe, whatever you can throw at it. And they and that's their strategy, just to silence you by discrediting you and forcing companies to remove your ability to speak or organize. And I totally support this whole detected thing.
Yeah, I do too. I just want to say we're a little bit late to the party here talking about this. I just wanted to touch base on it, just saying that, well, first off, if you want to know more about this stuff, and they really get in depth, Side Scrollers, Craig over on Side Scrollers has covered this extensively this week. And I believe it was yesterday, Jeremy over at the Quartering had a Cabrutus, the guy who actually started the site on Steam, along with Mark Kern Grums, who was if you don't know who he is, you should look it up. They had a really good chat on the Quartering yesterday, covering all this kind of stuff. It's crazy, right? I mean, all these guys did was put together a list that they took off of Sweet Baby Inc.'s website of the games that they consulted in, and just said, hey guys, these are the games that have been infected with this woke nonsense, and buy it or not, they don't care. They're just I look at it as they're giving us a public service of letting us know what has been infected by this company. And the crazy part is this is just one company. I'm understanding there's a lot of these consultant companies out there that do this kind of stuff. I would like to know what these other companies are and what games they've infected with their crazy, weird pronoun using ideology. You know what I mean? It's nuts. It's hard to find games that aren't, I think, completely infected with this kind of stuff. And I think that's why games like Helldivers 2 is so popular right now, because there's not a lot of woke in it. And if there is woke in it, it's very minimal and it's easy to look past. But it's crazy. It's just I don't even know what really to say about this stuff other than just be aware. Be aware that it's out there. Be aware that your entertainment is being affected by this ideology that many of us don't agree with. So there's a lot of ways to look into it, but it's really kind of sick, and it's definitely turning into Gamergate Part 2. What I'm finding interesting is if you go through this, there's a list out here that's starting to form up of all these left-wing crappy gaming websites that are putting articles out against this group. Kotaku, that bastion sucks. They suck. They're going to be out of business pretty soon. That's what the one that the Mike just read from was Kotaku. There's a PC Gamer put out a hit piece yesterday or 2 days ago. Eurogamer has a hit piece out now. The Gamer, I believe,
that's what website. This one is. This is the PC Gamer one. I've got up.
Yeah. The Guardian. The Guardian is taking shots at this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Anyone notice though that like all of the mainstream gaming publications are all left wing? That they've taken over every single outlet. They've taken over every single major subreddit on Reddit. Everyone. There's like 12 people that own every single gaming subreddit on one of the biggest platforms in which to talk about the game you love. And every one of those giant subs are owned by the same 11 insane liberal SJWs.
It's infiltration.
It's infiltration. It's straight up infiltration. And when a bunch of gamers decide to organize on Steam and push up against it, the entire weight of their their machine just tries to smash them into non-existence.
It's because there's certain things that cannot be destroyed. You know, I've seen this happen in the history of the church too, where because people would used to be killed for the faith, but it would actually cause more people to have the faith. What they realized was, we need to destroy it from within. That's what you're seeing too with gaming. That's what you're seeing with movies now. We can't change the culture by making our own things, right? Or trying to just simply tear down what they have built. No, we actually have to get in so that then we can start to pull the strings, and that's how the change happens. And sure enough, that's what we've seen.
It infiltrated everything. It drives me nuts, man. Especially on these websites that have been around for just decades and years, and just something that I always went to as a source of not just entertainment but information. And now they're infiltrated by people that are, these people are literally insane. They have actual figurative brain worms in their head. And I don't even think it's malicious, man. I think that they honestly believe the insanity that they put out there. And, I don't know, who do you blame? Colleges, universities? Like, what cesspool do these guys crawl out of to take over these sites? I don't get it.
These are journalists, in quotes, that can't get real jobs in real news sites. So they have to go down to these terrible Kotaku type websites.
It's ending, Vader. The money is drying up.
Yeah,
and when it's gone, you won't have jobs because this is not a sustainable model of business. No. It's only sustainable when the economy is doing great. You wreck the economy for 3 years, and now there's not enough money to keep your grift going. Congratulations, guys. I'm sitting over here with popcorn, bro. It's like rubbing my legs in sexual gratification, watching all these.
We don't need to know that. We don't.
Hold on. No. Everybody be quiet. Tell me more, Brian.
Yeah. I'm every time you hear about one of these companies shutting down because, we have a great team of people over here, but the business model, our parent company decided that we're not profitable. You have never been profitable. What did you expect? How can you just continually put out bull crap, never make a penny, and then be surprised that the grift is ending? You're a con artist, but you believe you're actually changing the world for the better. It's insane. Sorry.
Yes.
No, Brian, look, this falls right into the same thing that I've been talking about with Disney, that Disney has not turned a profit yet with Star Wars or Lucasfilm. They're still in the red. Because every time they bring money in, it's not made up for anything that they've spent so far. It keeps the expense grows and expands even further as the money that comes in doesn't cover anything.
I'm so mad that I couldn't go to
the history of Hollywood.
Hotel cruise.
When have you seen the head of a studio keep their job? I mean, they were trying to fire Robert Evans constantly, and the guy brought hit after hit for Warner Brothers, right? And yet, they were constantly trying to fire him. But you've got people working in studios today that have lost billions of dollars for the studio, and yet they don't get fired.
The pendulum is going to swing the other way, man. You have people like David Zaslav and CEOs that are just like, they don't really care about the culture war. They just want to make money. They're coming in. With this election year coming up, like they're coming in. These businesses, they can only lose money for so long before someone is going to pay for it. And I guarantee you that pendulum is swinging real far. You know what the bull crap is, though? The pendulum's going to swing this way. We're going to get some Republican or something in office. The economy is going to do great for a couple of years. And then the pendulum's going to start swinging the other way the second the coffers start to fill again. This is like a constant cycle, man.
If you want to get conspiratorial about it all, right? What's the best way to, if you are actually a communist, you think that corporations should just be torn down, what's the best way to do it? Infiltrating, getting in there, and having them destroy themselves. Disney, think about how powerful Disney, it still is, obviously, but think about how far Disney is now from where it used to be. So again, get a little bit conspiratorial there, but again,
purposely
makes more sense to me than what's,
lose money to bring capitalism to its knees.
I know, right?
Well, that's why we're seeing a war going on at Disney.
We're going to talk about Disney in a second. Hold on, let me put a plug in it because Bob Dorsey gifted 5 Salty Nerd podcasts. Now that brings us up to 20.
Ooh.
Woohoo! Bonuses now kick in for everybody in the panel. Matt Kadish is paying $1 million out per person on the panel. Thank you, Bob Dorsey.
Y'all getting paid? What?
Look, nobody's getting paid shit.
No,
it's a salty nerd on this panel before I do.
Right.
Okay? You understand that?
It's in Mexican
I'm
pesos.
going to Disneyland.
Oh, man, of course.
It's in Mexican pesos and they're virtual. So
Alex, the salty
Turn
nerd,
that into tacos and I'm in.
He's at Disneyland right now. And if you go to salty_1138, he has a special tweet that he sent out this morning that he wanted to share with everybody. I don't have it pulled up, so I can't share
all right,
it.
I'll pull it up shortly. Now, our next news topic is, guys, bad news. Rooster Teeth is shutting down after 21 years. Warner Brothers Discovery. Check this out. Are you ready for this action here? Warner Brothers Discovery in talks to sell shows like RWB, Red vs. Blue, Genlock will shop the Roost Podcast Network. Oh no, Rooster Teeth is biting the dust after more than 2 decades. Parent company Warner Brothers Discovery, after unsuccessful attempts to sell the unprofitable fandom, gaming, and comedy entertainment division, is shutting down Rooster Teeth's operation. Rooster Teeth General Manager Jordan Levin announced the shutdown of Austin-based Rooster Teeth at an all-hands meeting Wednesday and in a memo distributed to staff. The closure of Rooster Teeth will result in layoffs of its approximately 150 full-time employees and will throw dozens of contractors and content creators out of work as well. I'm going to kick this one right off the deck to our man Brian from the podcast, who until the show started, I was unaware, actually has some background with Rooster Teeth. What say you on this topic, sir?
Yeah, before Rooster Teeth, it was called drunkgaming.com. And I actually worked on that forum, and I created a bunch of cool clips for that forum and to market their crazy videos on E-Bomb's World and, you know, various other, I call them the Stone Age of the internet times.
That takes me back, man.
Yeah, bro. You know, when 4chan wasn't just a bunch of Nazis, you know? So I was very invested in drunk gaming in my, I guess I was 22, 23. It was where the majority of my friends would go. Like we'd play Counter-Strike or Halo, and then we'd go and check out Rooster Teeth stuff before it was Rooster Teeth. Then it became Rooster Teeth, and everyone applauded. Everyone applauded their success. Yeah, they're making for gaming content for gamers when that wasn't a thing. Okay, the left versus right stuff, the Counter-Strike little videos, all the stuff they did was really, sort of it was fun, and it wasn't sanctimonious, and it wasn't like polished, but it was for us. And then they got a little better, and they started making more and more stuff, and then they started to sell out. And they started to sell out, I would say, probably about the time when everyone started joining MCNs on YouTube, like the Machinima times. And when they became part of Machinima, that their content changed. It looked like Rooster Teeth. It looked like drunkgaming.com. It looked like it. It had the same, it had the right stuff, had the elements of what made them genuine, authentic, and hilarious, but it lacked all soul. It had no soul. It had nothing authentic about it. It was like an AI.
What year
version.
was that, Brian?
When they joined Machinima, what, 2011, I want to say.
That explains Laser Team. Okay, I was curious.
Yeah, I want to say 2011 is when they joined Machinima. I was out of the loop by then, but I still followed from a distance. And I gotta say, when they went corporate, and I'm not saying you can't corporate, like if you build something and you want to sell it to a bigger business, get more money, more resources, and that's fine. Do your thing. I'm all like, if someone wanted to buy the podcast and they offered me enough money, I'd sell it in a heartbeat. So I'm not criticizing that. What I'm criticizing is acting like it's the same business, like it's the same 5 people making cool stuff on the internet. When you abandoned that audience a long time ago, adopted every single corporate DEA before. Listen, you guys want to talk before the whole DEI, the message nonsense. These guys were already doing it. They were already kicking off hosts that were extremely popular for years to push more left-wing ideas. And it was almost malicious because they did it very slowly. Like they wanted to make sure they didn't lose fans. So they started to do it slowly. but you can go back, look at their content. These guys have like what, almost 10 million subscribers, and their videos get less views than mine. Does that make any sense? I have 130,000 subscribers or so. They have almost 10 million subs, and their videos get a tenth of what my videos get. It's because they sold out, and you can see all of their hosts, all of their content is filtered through this non-genuine, unauthentic left-wing bias, and it's the same in name only. It has the right elements, but it's all filtered through that corporate left-wing bias. It's garbage. They deserve to be gone, man. And you know what? Good on David Zaslav. Shut them down. They ain't making no money. Shut them down. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't really have any a whole lot to say about the whole. Man, my mind is just blanking right now. The whole Rooster Teeth thing. However, I do know that our friend Stuttering Craig was involved back in the day. You know, he was one of the founders of Screw Attack, which was part of Rooster Teeth, and he is looking to purchase, I believe, that asset back.
Do it
from Rooster Teeth
and making Rooster Teeth great again, right?
Well, I don't think he's going. He's not. I don't. From what I've heard, he's not going to relaunch it, but he wants to make all the old content available. So I just want, you know, like again, I'm pitching, I'm plugging other people's shows, but pay attention to Craig. Pay attention to Side Scrollers, because I'm sure he's going to be coming out with some way to either buy it outright or create some kind of a fundraiser thing that maybe we can all be a part of or what. But I wanted to just get that out there because this is an important thing to him. He is super passionate about trying to get this back under his control because, you know, it's an important thing to him. And I think we need to support that. So it is what it is. And I'm going to leave it at that. So Mike.
And Craig's a great guy. I'm a member of his, I'm a member of his channel, and man, I love watching what he does. He does a great job with his shows. We're going to pivot a little bit. We're running short on time, but I got to get us to the next topics, which are Bob Iger and Disney. Bob Iger pushes back on Marvel fatigue and said, as covered by the Hollywood Reporter, Bob Iger pushes back on Marvel fatigue, but says Disney quietly canceled movies. The Disney CEO was interviewed at a Morgan Stanley conference in San Francisco on Tuesday, where he called the Nelson Peltz-led proxy fight a distraction for the company. Oh, no, a distraction. Disney CEO Bob Iger, speaking at a conference hosted by Morgan Stanley in San Francisco on Tuesday, was pressed about what is he doing to turn the film business around. Quote, "You have to kill things you no longer believe in. And that's not easy in this business because you've gotten started, you have some sunk costs, or it's a relationship with either your employees or with the creative community," Iger said. "It's not an easy thing, but you got to make those tough calls. We've actually made those tough calls. We've not been that public about it, but we've killed a few projects already that we just didn't feel were strong enough." Iger added that he's been spending a lot of time with the creators, watching these films, giving detailed notes in these films, engaging in a respectful process that results in improvement. And he pushed back on the idea of superhero or franchise fatigue, saying that it was not an accident that Marvel's first 33 films generated just under $30 billion at the box office. And my last quote of Bob will be, "A lot of people think it's audience fatigue. It's not audience fatigue. They want great films, and if you build it great, they will come. And there are countless examples of that. Some are ours, some are others. Oppenheimer's a perfect example of that. Just a fantastic film," I just said. All right, guys. So I can't do it anymore. What say you about Bob Iger, Disney canceling films, and apparently Bob Iger watches every movie release 3 to 5 times before it comes out? I haven't heard from Tom in a while. We're going to kick this one to Tom to start off. Go, Tom, go.
Well, I mean, as far as the whole Marvel fatigue, Disney canceling quietly things, as we just mentioned David Zaslav before, I love how everybody constantly gives David Zaslav stuff for canceling projects, but yet they ignore every other studio in Hollywood, which has always done it. And we know darn well Disney is just as guilty as the rest. In fact, there was a whole slew of shows and movies that they quietly retired on Disney Plus, and you'll never find again because they're tax write-offs now. As far as like the whole Marvel fatigue thing, we can discuss that in a whole other forum in a different way if you wanted to. But I mean, the short version is, I think most people would agree on, is that as long as you're making something people like, they'll go to see it. Right. That's just the way it is. I mean, you can sit there and say there's Marvel fatigue, superhero fatigue, but when a Spider-Man or something like that comes out and people actually go see it, that just shows me that it's more so that they don't have fatigue as much as they're sick and tired of being fed the generic crap. And they just want something good, and they're going to listen for word of mouth on it and all that kind of stuff. And we all know Bob's basically delusional, and just basically a week that doesn't go by that basically Bob doesn't say something stupid. So,
well, what kind of dumb shit did Bob say this week?
That's all I got to say on that.
Okay, now I'm definitely fired. That's hilarious. Vader, Gary, what do you guys say?
I'm more interested in finding out what some of these mystery movies and shows are that he canceled. Was there a show about Drax in his married years and, going to work every day and punching the clock with raising his kid and hanging out with his wife? I mean, I don't know. What were these projects that got canceled that were so bad that they never were mentioned, never announced, never talked about? Just, hey, we canceled some things. Sure you did, Bob. I don't really believe him that he canceled anything, because they're not telling us what these things were. I think he's just blowing smoke up people's ass.
Well, we do know what one is. Mandalorian's season 4. Already, even one of the actors involved with it is pushing back, saying it wasn't canceled for the reasons you're thinking. It was for something else. But
they're making a movie, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, the movie's different. I'm talking about the TV series was canceled, because that's what they're going to do. They're going to opt to do a film, and hopefully with Jon Favreau fully in charge and not being relegated or dictated to and how he can do it. But first of all, I do want to address, there's no such thing as genre fatigue. No. The fatigue is bad movie making or storytelling.
It's bad movie fatigue. That's what it is.
It's always going to be that. When you hear somebody throw out fatigue, that's a cover up. It's a lie. It's a lie. They know it's a fucking lie.
I mean, is there going to be a time when certain things may be more popular than others? Yes, they're fads. There are things that kind of happen, but I think we're way past the superhero thing being a fad.
Are we going to get
especially a genre?
Are we going to get Kenobi season 2, The Adventures of Reva?
Well, he's begging fans to help him. Ewan. But what I'm looking forward to is I really have a lot of faith that Nelson Peltz is going to get in there and kick Iger's ass. And if you get Nelson Peltz in there, you're going to also get Ike Perlmutter back doing what he did before, which was guarding Marvel. Now, I know a lot of people talk shit and bought into it. Feige and his team were doing Victoria Alonso of destroying Ike Perlmutter and taking control over from him. But we've seen what happened after that was done. That's when everything went south after 2019. And he wasn't there. He was a bulwark against that bullshit.
Yep. So Odin, Brian, what say you on Bob Iger, superhero fatigue, and Disney canceling movies?
No, superhero fatigue is not a real thing. Go ahead, Odin.
Yeah. No, you go ahead.
No, that's all I gotta say. Really, it's not a thing. Like, look. If I'm excited about a movie, I'm gonna go watch it. There's at no point where I'm gonna be like, I don't want to watch superheroes anymore. I don't want to watch westerns anymore. No. If you make a good movie and the trailer gets me interested, and the right people are involved, like, I'm gonna go watch it. Now, to be fair, I've watched pretty much everything, but I'll be excited about it. It's like saying you're like, when you say fatigue, you're just like, you're fatigued with movies. When someone says I'm tired of superhero movies, no, they're tired of bad superhero movies.
Exactly.
That's what they're tired of. They're not tired of superhero. It's been nothing but bad, and so they're tired of bad. Because you know what? The same people that said they're tired of superhero movies was like, I really liked Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I'm like, okay, well, then you're not tired of superhero movies, are you?
Nope.
Yeah, it's like going to a special club where they have certain kinds of women dancing, and you hire nothing but ugly women, and then like, Oh, nobody's coming to the club
strippers.
anymore. They're tired of seeing strippers. That's what it is. It's a stripper problem. Yeah,
you're hiring the wrong ones.
Odin. Okay, before we go down the stripper path, Odin, set us right. What say you on this topic?
No, I think I agree with everything that has been said, right? Just about how it is indeed bad. Yeah, except the stripper thing. It's the bad movies, right? And this is something that I've been saying for a long time, especially a lot of people also loved blaming COVID for a lot of things, day and date release models for certain things. And there's obviously some element to that has impacted some of the box office for certain films, but ultimately it comes down to, how much you're spending on your movie, and then also how you're making your film. Is it actually a good film? Is it actually getting good word of mouth? Because now more so than ever before, because not just because of COVID, but also because of inflation and so many other things that are impacting the daily lives of everyday persons, we don't have that much expendable income anymore. And we're a lot more careful with that expendable income that we might have. And so why would we want to waste that on really bad stories, on overdone stories? And that's why when people say, "Oh, well, I'm just tired of the superhero films," it's you're tired of the specific kind of superhero films that are being released right now. You're not actually tired of the genre, because the great example, of course, is everyone was saying, "Oh, movies are done right now. Everything is, everything bad that's happening is because of COVID." And then what happened a week after that excuse was used to justify why the remake of West Side Story failed? Oh, that's right, Spider-Man came out, ended up taking that whole narrative and saying, "Oh, well, turns out it's actually just people have been waiting for a really good film that actually pays fan service, that actually is something that people want to see or have an idea of maybe they want to see." So it all comes down to marketing. It all comes down to the films you are actually making, and the word of mouth is more important now than ever was before. Sound of Freedom, I think, is also a good example of that word of mouth.
Yeah. Well, Barbie, we've had a few.
Mm-hmm.
Oppenheimer.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like any of those movies, but I agree with you. People did. Yeah, I got nothing else to say on that. I mean, everything Evan says right. Everything you guys says right.
No, we've all said it. This is something we've said before, and it's just Bob talking out of his butt some more.
We're tired of bad movies, Bob. If you really watch every movie 5 times, how are you so inept that you can't see the problem?
Well, now, Mike, there's a puppet that you need to pay to get made. Bob Iger's butt talking.
Yeah, right.
I don't believe that. I don't know who said this. Was it Andre that said that he believes that he does? I can't believe Bob Iger actually watches these movies. I think that's just
I watch them 80 times or whatever. It's like he may see them in various stages of production, but if he actually is sitting there and going, "I like this, I think it's a good movie," then he needs to get the hell out of Hollywood.
Right, because that tells us that he has no idea what he's doing as the head of the CEO. No idea.
And frankly, at this point, like, Disney used to be the juggernaut that everybody tried to follow with trends, right? Especially, in the Eisner era post and leading into the first few years of Bob's reign. And at this point, you just look at this company. And the funny thing is, I think in the next 2 years, we're going to see everybody turn around and not only turn away from what Disney's doing, you might even see some of these studios start to outwardly blame Disney for movies failing in general, right? Because, in fact, if anything, you could turn around and point the finger
the whole industry.
Well, let me bring you an example here. A rising tide floats all boats, right? Well, everybody could turn around and point the finger at Disney for going, "You screwed up the superhero. You screwed up the one sure thing. We figured out the formula, and you screwed it up."
Yeah.
We had it dicked. We literally were going we were just printing friggin' money. Like we couldn't even make it. They had to print more money to make us more money. That's how much money the Avengers were making. And you just turn that, and it's like, "Oh, I'm driving down the road. We're going great. This is great, amazing. Oh, look at that bridge abutment. I'm going to drive right into it." That's exactly what Bob did. Because everybody was going, "Fuck, we're making so much money. All we got to do is keep putting men in tights."
Tights.
Tight tights at that, right?
Hey,
Especially,
as long as they're in shape.
As
long as they're in shape, Tom.
You had women involved, you had men involved, you had all kinds of superhero films. We had everything from like The Punisher to Batman to, you name it. Marvel was, killing it. It was killing it so good that even the bad DC movies were even sort of making some money, like Suicide Squad. Yeah. Right? Like,
oh, yeah. How about this? You didn't even need to figure out what to write. You have like 50 years of comics where you know exactly what everyone likes.
Oh,
it's like it was the game on easy mode, and they decided to completely throw out the rules.
You literally had 50 or 60 years of material to work with for each character.
And what does Kevin Feige always pick, though, Tom? He always picks
the last 10 years or the last 5 years. Yeah.
The flops.
And that's what it's just ridiculous. And you wonder why. You literally took the only sure thing that Hollywood has ever had in the history of Hollywood, because that's the famous saying that I think William Goldman said or whatever it is, nobody in Hollywood knows nothing. And that's the absolute truth. Movies take so long and trends change so fast that if you know, you can have one popular superstar tomorrow, and a year from now she could have a movie come out and nobody gives a crap, right? Like, it's just because that's how fast trends and things change. So you can't just sit there and bank on anything in Hollywood. But they had the one sure thing ever in Hollywood outside of Disney, which had the only second sure thing, and that was a Disney animated movie, right? You could do anything in the world, but a Disney animated movie, you stayed the heck away from that bastard because you knew it was going to dominate for about a month. No matter what it was. It could be a crappy movie about a talking stick, and they'd go see it. It's like, got Disney on it, I'm taking the kids. You don't really want to see that, do you? Well, the kids do, and I got to take the kids.
Talking baby movies.
Talking baby movies, whatever. These trends happen, they come and go. But superhero movies were staying strong for almost 25 years at this point. And you saw Avengers Endgame become the highest grossing film ever, right? Like, not just modern wise, ever. Sure, you can argue the ticket sales with Gone with the Wind and some other things like that, but that's not the point. The Goldarn movie made almost $3 billion.
Crazy.
Okay, like, that is insane to think about. We lived in a day and age when a movie could actually make that kind of money, and the amount of people that had to go see it to make that movie that kind of money. That is Jaws numbers. That is Gone with the Wind numbers. That is the original Star Wars numbers. And let's talk about Star Wars for a minute and how bad you destroyed that, because we already have, but let's be real. You took what was the most popular toy brand in the history of toy brands, and you made it an Ollie's Dollar General staple now.
Pretty much became a dedicated distributor for Ollie's. That's 100% on point. Guys, we're almost.
Sorry, rant number 2 is over.
No, that's great. That's awesome. You're getting the chat loves you. The chat loves it. William Forbes throws in for $5. Let's just have Elon and fellow billionaires buy it outright. He means Disney. Change the whole old guard, privatize it, and turn the whole ship to good entertainment. The problem, William, is that would cost on the open market about 180 billion right now, and you probably have to give a premium of 10 to 20 billion. So you're talking about a $200 billion war chest that would be needed to do that. And then our final comment of the day from Sander Hammerstock has been a member for 2 months. I'll throw this out to anyone on the panel that wants to take it before we do outros, which is, what are the chances of Hollywood rebooting all the woke crap if Trump wins in November? Anyone?
Minuscule.
Vader, Hollywood rebooting all the woke crap. What do you mean? What do you mean rebooting? They're in the middle of making woke crap right now. What is he talking about?
Yeah. I don't quite understand.
What does it mean?
I guess
it means turning.
That's when they quadruple
put
down.
the pedal on the gas.
You mean double down on it when? If, I'm about to say when Trump wins. If Trump wins.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, dude, they're just like constantly increasing the gas. They haven't soft braked or granny shifted since 2016. Like 2016 happened. Trump started rolling down that escalator, and they were like, and we're just now it's just an ever rising it's so high pitched, dude. I can't leave my house, and I live in a pretty conservative part of California. And I mean, I'm seeing it seep in here. You're starting to slowly see everything seep into everything, and you can't get away from it. This is the problem. When you hire social justice warriors and woke, insane, brain-wormed people to teach your kids in elementary school, and then you wonder why the last generation grew up with all these insane ideas because you weren't raising your kids. Someone else was, and the person that was is a liberal. Is an insane liberal with brain worms. And then that kid goes from high school or elementary school to high school, gets the same propaganda pushed into their brain, And if they're lucky, they go to college, and college is the worst. And it's like the final boss. College is the ultimate form of indoctrination. And eventually those exact kids go back out of the workforce, go back to live with mom and dad because they got a gender studies degree and they have no way of actually paying for it. And then it takes decades for them for those brainworms to come out of their brain, for them to grow up when they have to actually start paying for bills and taking care of other people. This is what happens though when you're not parenting your kids and you put them into elementary school with a bunch of crazy liberal agenda pushing people. That's everywhere. Every single one of these schools, like the ratio of insane teachers to actual normal good teachers is really bad right now. So consider who is teaching your kids while you're at work, especially in public schools, which is why my kid's in a private school. I have 2 kids. I have daughters, twins. They're in private school. Dude, I'm not a wealthy person. I can barely afford it. It is actually a monthly strain for me to put my kids in private school. It's very difficult. I am dedicated. I will literally, if I had to sell my Jeep, if I have to not have something to put them in a private school, I will not allow them to go to a public school. Because this was my reaction. When I was being pressured to put them into a private school, I went to, I think they were in 2nd grade or something. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, 2nd grade. And I went to their public school, like, that first day when you meet the teacher and all that. And the teacher was literally like wearing a trans pin and she had shaved sides of her head. I walked in and it was like God was like, hey, everyone's telling you to put in a private school. Look who's teaching your kids, bro. Yep. Like the second I saw him, I turned around, walked out. I called the school I was going to take him to. And the next day we were in private school. I have not looked back since. And it's it's a massive burden. But dude, the 2nd grade teacher had her head was shaved and she had a trans pin in 2nd grade.
That's
out
the uniform. In the open. That's the sign, man.
It's crazy, dude. Yeah, and then you wonder why the pedals to the metal, why the constant high-pitched sounds of liberals screaming is all around you. Well, for 2 generations, we've just let it all go. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. Luckily, the next generation coming up is pretty damn based because they it's in human nature to push against the authority. And right now, dude, the leftists they're the authority. They're in charge. Shit. Sorry to say.
That's okay.
Well, so you've seen they're being very destructive towards private schooling and towards homeschooling, which is what I did, Brian. I took my daughter out of public school and just did the homeschooling, and she did so much better.
I'm just glad I don't have any kids right now. I got my grandkids up in Oregon that I'm terrified of what they're being exposed to in school, but I don't have any control over that. But what I do have control of is this show. And Mike, we're just going to go around the panel here. We're going to end this up. Mike, thank you for hosting today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You hosted your ass off. You hosted way more than I thought you were going to. I was fully prepared to come in here and do it, but I guess I didn't have to because you were under strict orders from Mr. Kadish to host the show, and that's good. That's fine because I don't like to talk anyway. You know me. So thank you so much for coming in and producing today and guiding the conversation. I appreciate you, man. You did a great job, and I can't say enough more thanks to you. Let's go around the panel now. Well, first off, I just want to say really quick. I'm going to go to Odin really quick because I lost my train of thought. Odin, take us home. What do you got going on, buddy?
Yeah, you can find me over at OMB Reviews on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, also over on Twitter as well. Tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6th Annual Raven Awards. It's our Oscar boycott show. Just finalized the votes this morning. Shout out to Tom. I know that he had some issues getting the ballot submitted, but he got it. He was able to help, able to break some ties, and so we'll be announcing winners and really losers also tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. So thank you again for having me on.
Sweet. Tom, what do you got going on over at Midnight's Edge? What's going on in your world?
Oh boy, it's hard to say. I'm sure we'll have a video at some point. We got I generally do a show on Sundays. I have no idea what's going on with that right now, but yeah, I'm sure I'll have some. Otherwise, I should pop up on Flashcast later. Probably do some Mead Radio at some point here.
Sweet.
You never know.
I love your Mead Radio. It's fun. It's nice to chill. It's nice to chill out to some music sometimes with your
What is it like? 8-bit
Fun little
music or
things.
something? It was like what is
It's
it?
movie. It's all movie related, right? All
Yep.
entertainment related.
Yeah, movie or television related music, basically. I mean, which really opens up the genre. I mean, to pretty much everything.
I love
It's more like
music.
It's usually like what isn't and hasn't been in a movie or television show, and you'd be surprised. Or I just avoid things that get the stream shut down right away, like Metallica or something like that.
Right.
Whatever you want.
Enter the
But, like,
Sandman.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
But no, yeah, that's all it is. It's fun.
Brian,
like
what do you
to put
got
it on
going
the
on over the
background.
podcast?
We got a big video coming out on the main channel tomorrow, if I can get it done. And then Monday I should be back for the live show on Pop Culture Unleashed.
How's Shane feeling? Is he up?
He's still alive.
Good. I worry about that guy.
You should.
And is
You
he
should worry about him.
Is he still getting more based every day?
Oh yeah. Just like
Okay.
the black pill is officially set.
It's nice.
It's set.
That's nice.
The other day he's like, "Hey, I was trying to find Trump's speech during the Biden State of the Union. Could you know where it's at?" I'm like, "No, they took it down." He goes, "What the fuck?" Just like lost his mind, dude.
Nice. Popcast, everybody. Okay, Gary. Can you give us the one last pitch in 30 seconds for your book? Can you do it?
My book is about a war hero who becomes disabled, and while he's waiting to find out that he's going to go back to his unit, he's put on hold by a med board process, and out of anger and frustration begins to take it out on the criminal underworld of Seattle. This takes place before all the woke stuff. It takes place in 2013, 2014, the plot.
Right
And
on.
it's a great comic, not because I drew and wrote it, but because of the subject matter.
No, that's exactly why. It's that, and you drew it and wrote it. That's important. You should.
And
proud of
look,
that.
Chuck Dixon and Mike Barron sing praises for the work. And Mike Barron's going to be writing the introduction for the book.
Nice.
He agreed to it.
Well, everybody check that out. It's on. I put the link again in the chat. Go support that, please.
And we're sending everybody.
And check out Gary over on Pop Culture Minefield. They do a lot of fun stuff over there as well. And just really quick, before I get in trouble, before I get an email or something, I need to push the commentary tracks that we have over on our Patreon. You can get those for $9.99 right now. We have a brand new Masters of the Universe commentary track for sale. It's a little experiment that we're doing.
Still don't understand how you guys didn't ask me to be a part of that.
Yeah, I don't know. Take it up with Matt, man. And that also is available free to our top level Patreons over there. So check that out. And again, thank you everybody for being here today. Mike, again, thank you for producing and hosting. You did an amazing job. And I think that's it. I think we're going to get out of here. So you want one more thing to say? Go ahead, Mike.
We're redirecting to Mephisto's Face Off live stream, which is where I'll be, even though I'm not a YouTuber, right after this. Thanks, everybody.
All
Thanks,
right.
Matt.
Pushing the button right now. Here we go.
Salty, salty, stay salty.